Okay, we're back, and now we're going to add in an additional verify policy. So going from the user interface, click on the Develop tab. We still have revision 4 that's running. I'm going to start operating on this. I'm going to add in a new policy, and this is going to be JWT. So let's see. We should be able to verify JWT. We can also generate and just decode. We can talk about all those. So let's call it JWT1, or maybe I'll call it, since it's verify, I'm going to call it verify JWT1, and that'll be my policy name. Verify JWT is, well, let's look at the documentation. Let's click that link. It is there to verify either a signed JWT or an encrypted JWT received from a client that may be issued by some identity server. Basically, the most common kind of JWT is going to be a signed JWT, and the most common variant of that is the RS-256 algorithm. And an example API policy configuration might look like this. So this will kind of give you all the information about the policy. Again, I don't need that much information because I'm sort of more familiar with how Apigee works, so I don't need to go through the documentation in detail. But I do want to specify my own configuration, so I'll walk you through this. There's the name of the policy. I'm going to say whatever JWT is presented, it needs to be using that algorithm. As you know, there are multiple different algorithms, signing algorithms for JWT. This is maybe the most common one, uses a public-private key pair, and RSA signing. There is a source configuration option for this policy that tells the policy where to find the JWT. Now, most often, the JWT is going to be sent in with via the authorization header. So the client will set the authorization header and send it in that way with a bearer prefix. So it's a bearer token. If that is your case, then you don't need to specify source. That's just what the VerifyJWT policy will default to. If you do not have a bearer prefix, or if it is not contained in the authorization header, then you need to take different steps and you'll use a different source. All right. This is how you can specify the source of keys that can be used to verify the signature on the JWT. And basically, you're just saying the JWKS is available at that URI. And for me, I'm going to use this is the URI. This is the contents of the URI, and these are the keys. This is a kind of a common thing. IETF RFC maybe 7516, I want to say. 16, maybe 15, maybe 17, 17. 17 talks about JWK and the JWKS standard and what keys look like. So that's what this is the spec, 7517, and this is just a compliant response where Google is telling you these are the public keys that you can use to verify signatures that Google applies to the JWT it issues. So that's what the Apigee policy is going to use. Now, if you had Auth0 or if you had some other identity provider, probably there's going to be a URI internally accessible but still public that presents the keys that can be used for signature verification. So it'll be very similar to this. And then I can also, beyond verifying just the signature, which implicitly will verify the validity dates, the expiry, and so on, I can also check, using the configuration in this VerifyJWT policy, the presence and values of other claims in the JWT. For example, if I wanted to verify not only that the signature verifies, but that the issuer claim in the token is that, then we can use this statement. If I wanted to verify the audience, I could do that. For any other claim scope or any custom claim, I can use other syntax. I'm not going to do that, but that's what it would look like. All right, so that's my VerifyJWT policy. Again, it is unattached. Where do we want to attach that? Probably in the request flow. As the request is arriving, we'll add it in here. So we've got our two policies that inject headers. Let's add in the existing policy for VerifyJWT. It's going to operate on the request flow. We'll add that in, we'll save it, and we'll deploy. Now, where are we going to get a JWT? Well, that's really easy. So if I have a terminal, and that Cloud Shell terminal is just fine. This is Cloud Shell, just happens to be me going directly into it. I can get a JWT, a JWT that's signed by Google. So if I run that command, gcloud auth print identity token, that gives me a token that is generated by and signed by Google. How can I check this? That just looks like a bunch of characters, looks kind of painful. We can go to a JWT decoder, like something like this one. And I can paste in that JWT, those characters that I received from the gcloud command, and it tells me, decodes the header. That's what the header looks like. It's telling me the signing algorithm is RS-256. That's what that is. The type is a JWT, and this is the key ID used to sign. That key ID will be referenceable here. So you're going to see it right there. One of the keys in this this key list will have that same key ID, and this is the public key that we can use to verify the signature. Apigee is going to do that dereferencing all automatically for you. I just wanted to point that out. So KID, algorithm, type, and then these are all the claims. This is my user ID that I'm signed in as. This is the issuer, accounts.google.com, and then there's the expiry, which is in about 10 minutes. The issue date time is about 51 minutes ago, not before, 56 minutes ago, and so on. This is all the information associated to that identity token, that long identity token. Okay, so let's go back to the terminal. What I want to do is set that into a variable. We'll do it this way. We'll get a new one. Auth print identity token. So that's a bashism that just runs that command and sticks it into that variable. Now, what are we going to do? We want to, again, invoke the API proxy, but now I'm going to pass in a header. And I'm going to say this is the authorization header. Bearer, prefix, and then the token variable. So it's that big long string. That'll be in the header. And I'll send that in. I think I've done that too quickly because I forgot to start a debug session, which I want to do. So we'll use number 5, revision 5. And let me go back. I'll just review the response that came back. We can see it was revision 5 that responded. I don't have a debug session. I hadn't started the debug session yet, so there won't be a transaction there. But this is what the upstream received. It received the bearer token. And in the interim, Apigee actually verified that token. So let's do that again. We'll clear the screen and we'll just run the same thing. I'll send the same token. And in a few seconds, we should see that transaction show up here. Now we can see so here's the transaction. The header was injected, the other headers are removed, and the next thing was let's verify that JWT. So let's have a look at the trace. It's VerifyJWT is going to unpack all of the contents of that JWT into variables so that you can use them. There's the payload, there's the each of the individual claims. So all those things that I was showing you that we could decode in a JWT decoder. Apigee's doing that sort of for you and setting these variables so that I could now, if I wanted to, I could do header injection with some of these claim values to the upstream system. Grab all that stuff. You can see time remaining. Now, if I had sent an expired JWT, this would fail. and it would say, yeah, that JWT is no good anymore. We're rejecting it. Or if I send an invalid JWT, let's look at that. We haven't done that yet. We'll send in not bearer token, but we'll send in bearer rubbish. So that's not a real token, obviously. What do I get back? I get a fault. I get an error message. It's saying 401 unauthorized, and that's not a valid token. So that's what I get back by default. I can put logic into the Apigee proxy that handles this and sends back a different message if I want it to be more or less informative. But for now, it's, the default behavior is it just sends back an invalid token. And this is what the transaction looks like. It does the header injection, the removing headers, then it runs through this VerifyJWT, and that fails. So it does not proxy that upstream request to the upstream. And it's saying, look, it's not a real token. You're missing some delimiters. There's no dots. It's obviously not a JWT. If it were a JWT and it were signed by somebody else, you get a different, similar but different error on the validation. So that's what it looks like. That's verification of JWT in the general sense, and I would say I've used the example of a token that is generated by Google, but you don't have to do that. That's whatever key source you have, you can specify here. Whatever issuer, no problem. It's going to work with whatever it is that you have, if you have tokens that are signed JWT. All right, so that's verification of JWT inside an Apigee proxy. Now, let's just leave it at that. I have some extensions that I want to apply to this in the next video.